I stare at my phone, the wedding dress pooling around me like spilled milk. The screen glows with the message that shatters my world. I can't walk you down the aisle. Emily's event is too important to miss. I'll try for the reception. My father's words blur as tears flood my vision. The bridal suite spins around me, delicate champagne flutes on the vanity. My veil draped across a chair, my bridesmaids frozen in various stages of preparation. The clock on the wall ticks mercilessly toward the ceremony. No, I whisper, then louder. No, no, no. With a strangled cry, I hurl my phone across the room. It hits the wall with a crack and tumbles to the carpet. My bridesmaids gasp in unison, Jessica's mascara wand suspended in midair, Tara's mouth forming a perfect O. Ashley, what happened? Tara asks, taking a tentative step toward me. I can't answer. I can't breathe. The room shrinks, walls closing in, my chest tightening until each heartbeat feels like a hammer against my ribs. The diamond engagement ring weighs heavy on my finger, a promise about to be fulfilled while another lies broken. The door swings open and Megan, our wedding planner, bustles in with her clipboard and bright efficiency. 3 hours until we need to line up, ladies. She stops abruptly, sensing the tension. What's going on? My father. The words scraped my throat. He's not coming. Not coming? Megan's professional composure slips for a moment. But the ceremony, we planned everything around him, walking you down the aisle. Well, he's not. My voice sounds brittle and sharp, like it belongs to someone else. My sister's event is apparently more important than my wedding day. The words hang in the air, more painful spoken aloud. A memory surges up, standing beside my mother's casket 17 years ago. My 13-year-old hand locked in my father's as mourners shuffled past in a blur of black. I'll always be there for the important moments, Ash, he'd promised, voice rough with grief. You and me, we're a team now. What a beautiful lie that had been. 9 months ago, when Ben and I set the date, Dad had seemed genuinely happy. We'd sat at his kitchen table, wedding magazines spread between us, and he'd placed his hand over mine. Nothing would make me prouder than walking you down the aisle, he'd said, eyes crinkling at the corners. For once, I'd believed to him. The first warning sign came 3 months before the wedding, when Emily called to announce her big career celebration scheduled for the same day. It's just bad timing, Dad had said over Sunday dinner, pushing peas around his plate. I'm sure we can work something out. The ceremony is at 4, I'd reminded him. Her event isn't until 7. You can easily make both. The drive between venues is 45 minutes, he'd hedged. I checked, Dad, I'd said, reaching for his hand. This is my wedding day. He'd squeezed my fingers. Of course I'll be there, sweetheart. We'll make it work. 2 weeks later. Traffic might be bad that weekend. Then, Em really needs family support for this promotion. Last week. I'm not sure about the timing. I'd reassured him every time. Rearranged what I could. Offered to send a car. Whatever it took to have my father walk me down the aisle. And now 3 hours before I'm supposed to marry the love of my life? He sends a text. A text. We need to move forward, Megan says, her voice gentler now. Is there someone else who could walk you? An uncle, maybe? Or would you prefer to walk alone? Alone. The word echoes in my head. My phone rings from where it landed on the floor. Jessica retrieves it and hands it to me wordlessly. Uncle Mark's name flashes on the screen. My father's older brother. The one who never missed a dance recital or graduation. I answer with trembling fingers. Hello? Ashley? His voice is warm, concerned. Your father just called me. I don't know what to say, sweetheart. A sob escapes before I can stop it. He's not coming, Uncle Mark. I know, the anger in his tone is barely contained, and I'm so sorry. I don't know what to do, I whisper. The silence lasts only a moment before he clears his throat. Would you let me have the honor of walking you down the aisle? Something in my chest breaks and mends all at once. You'd do that? In a heartbeat. His voice softens. I'll be there in 20 minutes, Ash. Don't you worry about a thing. I end the call and look up at the circle of concerned faces around me. Something shifts inside me, a realization that maybe family isn't always who you're born to, but who shows up when it matters. My Uncle Mark is coming, I announce, standing a little straighter. He'll walk me down the aisle. And somehow, despite everything, I know I'll be okay. Uncle Mark's offer settles around me like a warm blanket. My bridesmaids exhale in collective relief. He'll be here in 20 minutes, I repeat, my voice steadier. Jessica approaches cautiously, her phone clutched in her hand, mascara wand forgotten. Atch, there's something you need to see. Her hesitation makes my stomach clench. What is it? She holds out her phone, a text conversation with my sister's name at the top. Emily sent these to me by mistake last month, Jessica says quietly. I wasn't sure if I should show you, but now I take the phone with shaking hands, the diamond on my left hand catching the light. The texts are from 3 weeks ago. Emily, Dad's still wavering about the wedding. Keeps talking about making it work. Jessica, he promised Ashley though, right? Emily, don't worry. I know how to keep Dad to myself on wedding day. Already working on it. Jessica, Emily, that's horrible. It's her wedding. Emily, oops, wrong, Jessica. Delete this. Not for bridal party. The room tilts sideways. I sink onto the vanity stool, the screen blurring. I should have shown you sooner, Jessica whispers. I just couldn't believe she'd actually sabotage my wedding day. My voice sounds hollow. I can believe it. Another memory surfaces. 4 years ago, standing in an auditorium at MIT, scanning the crowd as I accepted the National Computer Science Scholarship. Dad had promised to be there. He'd even texted that morning, on my way, kiddo. He never showed. Later, he'd apologized, saying there'd been an emergency at work. Months afterward, his assistant had casually mentioned how Emily called that day, saying I was too nervous and wanted him to skip the ceremony. The pattern stretches back 17 years, to the days after Mom died. I was 13, shattered and lost. Emily, at 16, had stepped smoothly into the woman of the house role-planning dinners, managing Dad's schedule, and quietly carving space between him and me. She's been doing this for years, I murmur. And he lets her. Tara wraps an arm around my shoulders. Your dad is an idiot, and your sister is worse. A knock interrupts us. Megan peeks in. Mrs. Carter is here, Ben's mom. She's asking if she can see you. I nod, wiping at my eyes. Karen Carter steps in, elegant in a pale blue mother-of-the-groom dress. Her eyes widen when she sees my tear-streaked face. Oh, Ashley, she crosses the room and takes my hands. Mark called me. I'm so sorry. Since Ben introduced us 2 years ago, Karen has shown me more maternal warmth than I've felt since my mom died. I don't understand why he'd do this, I confess. When I was 28, Karen says as she sits beside me, my father refused to attend my wedding to Ben's dad because we were an interfaith couple. I blink. Did he change his mind? She shakes her head. No. I waited, hoping he'd walk through the doors at the last minute. He never did. And for years, I kept trying to earn his approval. Rearranged holidays. Made excuses for his absence. Her fingers tighten around mine. This isn't just about today, Ashley. It's about whether you're going to let them keep breaking your heart for the rest of your life. Her words land like a stone in my chest. How many times had I moved my schedule, minimized my accomplishments, swallowed disappointment, all to keep my father comfortable? I think of my first dinner at the Carters' home, how Ben's dad pulled out my chair, how Karen remembered my favorite dessert from a casual mention months before, how their whole family made room for me at the table like I'd always been there. I've been chasing his approval my whole life, I whisper. And what has gotten you? Karen asks gently. Heartbreak, disappointment. I straighten my shoulders. I won't let his absence ruin what's supposed to be the happiest day of my life. The clock on the wall reads 7 minutes until the ceremony is supposed to start. Mark will be here any minute, Karen says, standing. Want help fixing your makeup? Before I can answer, my phone buzzes with a text from Ben. Whatever you need today, I'm here. Even if that means waiting. I love you. Fresh tears spring to my eyes, but now they're gratitude, not grief. I don't want to wait, I tell Karen. This day isn't about who isn't here. It's about Ben and me, and the people who chose to show up. She smiles. That sounds like a bride who knows exactly what she wants. 10 minutes later, the door opens and Uncle Mark steps in, slightly breathless in his tux, his eyes finding mine with such fierce love that my heart squeezes. Look at you, he says, crossing the room and pulling me into a hug. Absolutely stunning. Thank you for coming, I choke out. I love you. Nothing could have kept me away, he replies. I love you too, kiddo. He reaches into his jacket and pulls out a small velvet box. I've brought something. He opens it to reveal a strand of pearls with a delicate silver clasp, glowing softly against black velvet. These were Mom's, he explains, my grandmother. She wore them at her wedding in 1953. I've kept them safe for years, waiting for the right person. My fingers hover over them. I can't take these. Yes, you can, he says firmly. She'd have wanted you to have them. Your family, Ash. Real family. Jessica helps fasten the necklace around my neck. As she does, the door creaks open again, and Ben's dad, Greg, pokes his head in. Mark, I brought that boutonniere you asked for, he says, stepping inside. The two men share a look that says more than words ever could. Ashley, Greg adds, turning to me with a warm smile. Everything's ready whenever you are. Ben's about as nervous as a long-tailed cat in a room full of rocking chairs. A small laugh escapes me, the tension easing. I just need a few minutes with my niece, Mark says. Greg nods, squeezes my shoulder, and leaves. My bridesmaids follow, until it's just Uncle Mark and me. She says, guiding me to sit again. I need to tell you something. When I graduated from college, my father refused to come to the ceremony, he says quietly. My stomach twists. Why? He wanted me to take over the family business, Mark says. When I chose teaching instead, he saw it as a betrayal, so he stayed home. I imagine a younger version of him, in a cap and gown, scanning the crowd for a face that never appears. My heart aches. I'm so sorry, I whisper. Some men don't understand what really matters until it's too late, he continues. He realized his mistake years later, but we'd lost so much time. I touched the pearls at my throat. Did you forgive him? Eventually, he says. But I never forgot who showed up that day instead. His gaze softens. My mom, wearing these pearls. She told me she was twice as proud to make up for him. Megan appears in the doorway. We should practice the walk before guests arrive. In the empty chapel, sunlight pours through stained glass, scattering colors along the aisle. The photographer adjusts her camera, planning new first-look photos with Mark instead of my father. We'll start here, Megan explains, demonstrating a slow, steady pace. Mark and I take our places. With each practice step, something between us shifts, solidifies. His arm is steady beneath my hand. I match his stride. After the third run, we stop at the altar. The tears I've been holding back finally spill over. What's wrong, sweetheart? He asks. I'm scared, I admit, that when I look back on today, all I'll see is an empty space where my dad was supposed to be. Mark takes my hands in his. Then let's give you something else to remember. He pulls a folded handkerchief from his pocket, initials LMP embroidered in the corner. Is that? Your mom's, he says, Linda Marie Parker. She gave it to me before she passed. Said someday you might need it. The simple cotton square, worn soft with time, feels like a message from her. I'm still with you. I press it to my cheek, breathing in a faint trace of lavender. Thank you, I whisper. For everything. You don't have to thank me, he says roughly. Family shows up. That's it. That's the job. Behind us, the chapel doors open. Guests begin to arrive, murmuring as they take their seats. Almost time, Megan calls. Mark straightens his tie, then glances at me. One question before we do this. What? Would your mom have liked Ben? He asks. The answer comes instantly. She would have adored him. Then she's here, he says simply. In these pearls. In that handkerchief. In you. People who really love us never completely leave. I stand taller, feeling the weight of the pearls and the soft square of fabric tucked into my bodice. I'm ready, I tell him, and for the first time all day I truly am. 2 hours later, after final touch-ups and endless photos, I'm counting the minutes until the ceremony begins. Through the draped windows, I see guests settling into rows of white chairs on the lawn. Their summer dresses and suits, a swirl of color against the deep green grass of the New York estate. Ready? Mark asks, adjusting his boutonniere. Am I ready to walk down the aisle without my father? Am I ready to step into a new definition of family? I touch the pearls at my throat. Yeah, I say I am. My bridesmaids line up, bouquets in hand. Jessica squeezes my arm. You look incredible, she whispers. No one will be thinking about who isn't here, but I know some will. Empty chairs can feel louder than occupied ones. Megan appears with her headset, everyone seated, ends at the altar. You good? I nod, and to my surprise, it isn't a lie. The devastation from this morning has settled into something like resolve. The doors open. One by one, my bridesmaids walk down the aisle. Then it's just Mark and me. I've never been more honored in my life, he says quietly, eyes shining. The first notes of the wedding march drift through the air. Our cue. We step forward into the sunshine. Guests rise. Faces turn toward us. Rose petals flutter in the breeze along the path. Halfway down I see Ben, his eyes lock on mine, tears spilling freely. Not pity, something deeper, gratitude, love, awe. His parents stand beside him at the front, beaming. Karen gives me a tiny nod. When we reach the altar, Mark turns to me. I catch the familiar scent of his aftershave, the same from childhood Christmases and graduations. With all the love of family chosen and given, he says, placing my hand in Ben's. The officiant smiles. Welcome, friends and family, she begins. We gather today to witness the marriage of Ashley Parker and Benjamin Carter. She pauses, glancing at Mark. I'd like to acknowledge the special role Mark has played today, she continues. Some bonds are forged by blood, others by choice. Both can be equally sacred. A quiet murmur of agreement drifts through the guests. At a table toward the back, a few of my father's relatives shift uncomfortably. Let them. This moment isn't about them. The ceremony unfolds like a dream, vows, rings, a kiss that tastes like promise and new beginnings. All the while, Mark stands nearby, a pillar of support. Later, at the reception, the DJ's voice booms over the speakers. Please welcome Mr. and Mrs. Benjamin Carter, he announces, escorted by their beloved Uncle Mark. We enter to thunderous applause, Mark's hand resting lightly at my back. Twinkle lights and flowers transform the ballroom into a soft galaxy. When the time comes for the father-daughter dance, anxiety twisted my stomach, another tradition that highlights who isn't here. But Mark steps forward, offering his hand. Just for a minute, he says. Then your husband gets you back. We sway to the opening lines of What a Wonderful World, his stiff posture gradually relaxing. Thank you, I whisper. No need for thanks between family, he replies. Ben cuts in, spinning me gently. Over his shoulder, I spot movement at the entrance. My father stands there, hair mussed, tie slightly crooked, scanning the room. He came, Ben murmurs. Too late, I say quietly. To my own surprise, there's no heat in my voice. Just clarity. Some moments you can't get back. About 30 minutes later, the gentle clink of silverware against glass rings through the hall. The room quiets as people turn toward Ben, who stands with a champagne flute, ready for his toast. I feel a tap on my shoulder. Ashley. My father's voice. I turn slowly. Robert Parker stands behind me, clutching nothing but his own regret. You made it, I say, my voice flat. Traffic was brutal, he says, gesturing vaguely. I tried calling, but you weren't answering. I was getting married, I say. The words land like a slap. His eyes dart around the room, taking in the fairy lights, the flowers, the laughter, everything he missed You could have made this easier, he says. Push the ceremony back an hour. Made what easier? I ask. Your choice? Before he can respond, my cousin Dan appears, jaw set, phone in hand. Sorry to interrupt, he says. Clearly not sorry. Thought you both should see this. He holds out his phone. A group chat Emily and her friends. Heading to Murphy's for drinks. Dad skipped Ash's wedding for this, so you better show up. A picture follows. Emily at a bar, surrounded by friends, cocktails raised high. The time stamp, 4:30 p.m. Her event? I ask, my voice barely audible. That's not all, Dan says. He swipes to another screenshot, this time a text from Emily to someone named Jen. Dad will have to choose between us. I'll make sure he chooses me. My breath catches. Dan shows us his calendar, her invites changing dates 3 times. Each shift aligning perfectly with the venue changes we'd been forced to make last month. The color drains from my father's face. I didn't know, he stammers. Ashley, if I had known. You would have what? I ask softly. Shown up? Kept your promise? The conversations nearby have stilled. Heads tilt in our direction. My father notices and straightens, ego snapping back into place. I want to apologize, he says, raising his voice so others can hear. Not here, I say firmly, and not tonight. But I need to explain. No. My voice rings clearer than I expect. You made your choice when you started looking for excuses weeks ago. This is mine. Something invisible snaps between us, the tension of years spent chasing his attention. The space it leaves is painful, but oddly light. Ashley, he says again, voice cracking. Enjoy the reception, Dad, I say. If you want to talk, we can talk another day. I turn and walk back to Ben and his parents. Karen reaches for my hand. Are you all right? She asks. I pause, really checking in with myself. Yeah, I say slowly. I think I am. From the corner of my eye, I see Mark approach my father. He speaks to him quietly, hand on his elbow, gently steering him toward the bar. She deserves tonight without more drama, I hear Mark say. Talk tomorrow. My father lets himself be led away. For the first time in my life, he looks small to me, not the giant whose approval I've chased since I was 13. But just a man who made terrible choices and is starting to realize what they cost. Ben's hand finds mine beneath the table. You okay? He asks again. Better than okay, I say. And as the music swells and he leads me to the dance floor, I choose to stay in this moment with the people who showed up. 1 year later, autumn sun pours through the bay windows of Ben's parents' house in suburban New Jersey, casting everything in warm gold. Our first anniversary. I smooth my hand over the small swell of my belly and adjust the tiny corsage on my wrist-white roses, like my bouquet. To Ashley and Ben, Karen says, raising her glass, eyes shining. 1 year down, a lifetime to go. Everyone clinks glasses. I sip sparkling cider while Ben's arm tightens around my waist. Happy anniversary, Mrs. Carter, he murmurs against my ear. On the coffee table, Greg sets down a thick photo album. Thought you might like to see just how much family we've crammed into 1 year. We crowd around. Photos fill the pages. Thanksgiving, with all of us squeezed around this same table. Christmas morning with Mark teaching Ben the proper way to carve a ham. Easter with my father awkwardly asking where we keep the good plates in the Carter's kitchen. Remember when Robert almost set the grill on fire on the 4th? Greg laughs. I nod, remembering smoke, chaos, and then laughter. Remembering how my father had shown up that day with store-bought potato salad and too many apologies. How we'd started with coffee, then short visits, then family dinners once a month. No instant forgiveness, but slow steps. Has Emily called recently? Karen asks gently. Not since she moved to Florida, I say, keeping my tone calm. She sent a card when we announced the pregnancy. That's something. Mark clears his throat from the armchair. He looks older than he did a year ago, more lines around his eyes, but his smile is the same. I've got something for you too, he says. He hands me a soft bundle wrapped in tissue paper. I peel it back to reveal a delicate baby blanket, cream-colored, knitted in an intricate pattern. Alice made this, he says quietly, his late wife. She said it was for the next generation, whenever that might be. Seems like the right time. I run my fingers over the careful stitches. It's beautiful, I whisper. The doorbell rings. Ben goes to answer it and returns with my father. Robert hovers in the doorway, holding a worn photo album, shoulders slightly hunched. Sorry I'm late, he says. Traffic on the bridge was backed up. The old excuse that used to cut me now barely stings. We're just looking at pictures, I say. Come sit. He settles on the edge of the sofa and opens his album. Inside are photos I've never seen. Mom pregnant with me, sitting on a picnic blanket. Dad a few years younger, gazing at her like she hung the moon. I'm sorry I wasn't there when it mattered most, he says quietly, staring down at the photos. I can't fix what I missed, but I'd like to be here now. For you. For my granddaughter. I don't rush to say I forgive you. Some hurts don't disappear in a single sentence. But I take his hand. One day at a time, I say. Later, we gather for a group photo in front of the fireplace. Ben stands at my side, his arm around my shoulders. Mark takes his place at my other side. My father moves in a bit more hesitantly, finding a place within our circle. I rest my hand over the small curve of my belly, feeling a flutter that might be a kick or just my imagination. Our daughter's going to know what real family loyalty looks like, I tell Ben as Karen sets the camera timer. Because of you, he says softly. The camera flashes, capturing all of us, some connected by blood, some by marriage, some by choice. All of us held together by the people who decided to show up and keep showing up. I've learned that family isn't just about who raised you or who shares your last name. It's about who is there when your world falls apart and who keeps coming back to help you rebuild. And sometimes, if you're very lucky, it's about who gets a second chance and finally chooses right.